Fox 45 News is demanding accountability from city leaders as questions surrounding the Brooklyn Homes mass shooting continue to swirl. The answers we want from the police department, housing department, and Monzi. Also tonight on Fox 45, a survivor of the Brooklyn Day mass shooting sharing his story exclusively with Fox 45 News. How his life has changed forever and the criticism his mother has for city leaders. And coming up tonight, Project Baltimore presses Baltimore County Schools' new superintendent about how she plans to improve performance after a couple of years of decline, how she plans to turn things around.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Well, Monzi, the police department, and the housing authority, Fox 45 News demanding accountability from the three key players in the response to the mass shooting at the Brooklyn homes.
We are pressing for answers more than 2 weeks after that shooting. Good evening. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Those three agencies face tough questions from residents and city council members during a hearing last week. Some council members admitting after the hearing there's still a lot we don't know.
As the questions continue, Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley is formally nominated before the council. Fox 45's Keith Daniels is questioning council members about that nomination.
Mackenzie Frost sat down with the president of the Housing Authority about its involvement in the investigation.
Our team coverage begins with Jeff Abel and the questions we have about Safe Streets. Jeff?
Well, the unanswered questions about the Safe Streets program drew fire here at City Hall last week. And tonight, that fire is still burning. At City Hall tonight, we went searching for answers about the $20 million Safe Streets program. Is it a safe investment for taxpayers?
I'm not saying to totally cut out Monzi's budget.
Do you trust them?
Well, yeah, I trust them. The thing about it is that we just want transparency.
The mystery about the crime-fighting strategy became even more tangled at a city council hearing last week.
And I want to know what it is that you guys are doing.
Council members struggled to understand the role Safe Streets workers played in the Brooklyn mass shooting. But directors at Monzi, which oversees the program, left some council members frustrated.
These basic questions need to be answered.
Do you have trust in Monzi?
I, again, have deep-rooted concerns in the expansion and growth of the agency.
At City Hall today, the frustrations were still simmering as some council members still demanding answers.
Should there be an independent investigation?
I think the mayor and his team know exactly what they're doing.
They are entitled to operate their city agency underneath the mayor. It's the mayor's discretion on their funding and what their functions are. I just think that they need to be more transparent and they need to explain to the taxpayers of the city what functions that they're actually providing.
Is there any reason why there hasn't been an investigation before now?
Again, I really can't say.
Earlier today, we emailed city council members asking, have any council members seen any records about Safe Streets mediations? Have you seen any copies of reports or audits of Safe Streets sites? And given the information that's not been provided, what reason do you have to believe what Monzi tells you? So far, no replies. But the recent questions about Safe Streets workers are hardly enough to jeopardize support.
We don't know whether or not, if Safe Streets knew about the party, we also know that a lot of people knew about the party and didn't do anything either. So I wouldn't just be pigeonholing them, okay? So I think that, the scrutiny that Safe Streets is under is quite unfair.
They've been able to bridge relationships and rapport building that police officers have not been able to broach, public officials have not been able to approach. And so I really think that we really need to reframe the conversation about the legitimacy of Safe Streets.
Hoping that, that some data is shown to us and there's more transparency.
Otherwise,
we're still at square one.
Well, council members are preparing to soon call a second hearing with hopes of getting answers to those very same questions they asked last week. We are live at City Hall tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Fox 45 News sent questions to the mayor's office about Monzi and the Safe Streets program, including what records, if any, have you received regarding Monzi's involvement in the activities related to the Brooklyn mass shooting? Why aren't you putting a hold on any further funding of Monzi until there is a full external investigation into the integrity and credibility of this taxpayer recipient money? And in the event that the City Council recommends an investigation, would you support it? Under your administration, how many Monzi employees, if any, have criminal records? Why is that information not public? So far, we have not heard back from those questions.
Well, Fox 45 News has been investigating the Safe Streets program for years, and we've been working to find out more about the program's finances and the ex-convicts the program hires. We want to know how the city is making sure employees aren't continuing to commit crimes while working for Safe Streets or Monzi. Prosecutors say in 2020, Safe Streets worker Ronald Alexander told officers he was working for Safe Streets during a traffic stop and let go. During a federal search, though, at his home a few days later, police found guns and drugs. In his plea agreement, Alexander confessed to taking drugs from people in the community as part of his work for Safe Streets. Last year, Fox 45 News obtained an email sent on behalf of then Monzi director Shante Jackson, pledging support for a Safe Streets worker after he was charged in a deadly hit-and-run crash. The email said the man was released following the assistance and support of Mayor Scott and Monzi. A spokesperson later told Fox 45 News the email was referring to emotional support. In March, another Safe Streets worker was found not guilty in a murder case. He had a prior criminal record, including second-degree murder, assault, drug, and gun convictions when Safe Streets hired him back in 2019. The family of the victim in that case sharing some sharp criticism for Safe Streets.
Has your view of the Safe Streets program changed throughout this week?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Yes. My belief is that our city government is financing a criminal enterprise. I believe that within my heart. Our city government is so invested in it that it's turning a blind eye to what it really is.
Earlier this year, after Fox 45 News threatened to sue, the city finally handed over contracts with the nonprofits operating the Safe Streets sites. The nonprofits are required to pay for a criminal background check for all employees and contractors and volunteers. But there are many things that we just don't know about Safe Streets and how it works. For instance, we've asked how Safe Streets uses the money it receives from the city of Baltimore. How are employees trained and who are they? Our questions are all listed right here. Fox 45 News also asks if Safe Streets workers, if they're not employed by the city, why won't they tell us who they are? And Safe Streets says it's conducted hundreds of mediations, but we're still not sure what that includes or what the program's benchmarks of success are. Right now, it's not clear how those mediations are reviewed either. That's something council members asked about during Thursday's hearing.
I don't have an itemized breakdown of all 5 of the conflicts with specifics, but I can share the nature of those. I'm not aware of weapons being involved in any of the conflicts that were mediated in that 5. Our preliminary assessment is that these were not directly connected to the event.
I'm not sure how that assumption is being made. So either they were reviewed or they weren't reviewed. My mind's boggled as to how it was not completely, fully reviewed.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Should there be an independent investigation into Safe Streets? So far, 98% of those who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Well, the Housing Authority of Baltimore City also facing criticism for the Brooklyn Day block party shooting. Janet Abrahams, the president and CEO of HABC, says her staff had no idea the event was going to happen this year. In a First on Fox interview, Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned Abrahams today. Here's part of that interview talking about HABC's involvement in the investigation.
Do you know who held the event?
After the event took place, our investigators went out. And I can sit here and tell you, yes, we know what units provide the electricity for the event. Yes, we do. And we have then turned that information over to the proper authorities.
Will the people who are responsible for throwing this party be able to stay in their public housing at Brooklyn Homes?
So, that's a good question. Right now, I think we're more leaning towards MOUs with families to say, you know, this happened. Because I know in their heart they are saying, oh my God, why? If I didn't do something, this would not have happened. And so we don't want to be the bearer of bad news and put people out
30
because
people
they made
were
a
shot.
mistake.
30 people were shot. Was that a mistake?
No. When I say sometimes 30 people were shot 8 of those families belong to us. The rest of them did not live on HABC property. What I mean when I say that is, I don't want to be punitive with residents because you made a mistake. Something happened, right? You provide the electricity, you did something against your lease. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to evict you, but we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what we need to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, Fox 45 News was able to confirm the U-Haul seen at the crime scene was the same truck that hauled in party supplies to Brooklyn homes earlier in the day. We also reviewed court documents showing the man who rented the truck also has a history of alleged drug distribution in the Brooklyn homes neighborhood. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost asked the Housing Authority president about that. And you can find the full interview on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
The police department admits it made mistakes responding to the mass shooting. The acting commissioner told council members the department missed key indicators. Now some wonder if Richard Worley is the right man for the job, especially because the city didn't hold a nationwide search.
This incident, we told you guys this incident was going to happen when we had our last press conference. This is why you need community engagement on the front end before you bring in a police commissioner.
Despite those concerns, Worley was officially nominated today. Keith Daniels pressed council members on the issues. So, Keith, what are those council members telling you about Worley and whether they want him to serve as commissioner?
Well, Kai, we talked to several council members about the matter today and tonight. What they're saying about Worley.
EA23-0208.
At Baltimore City Hall, the City Council's meeting. Top of the agenda, the introduction of the bill nominating acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley as the department's permanent commissioner.
I want to have a conversation with him.
The confirmation process now begins.
Now it's time to pass the torch.
Just minutes after former Police Commissioner Michael Harrison stepped down last month, his deputy commissioner stepped in.
Follow the model that the commissioner brought.
The mayor wasted no time announcing Deputy Commissioner Worley would be his nominee to replace Harrison. No one else considered. No national search. At Monday's council meeting, pressing members on that point, including Yitzi Schleifer, chair of the council's Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee.
I don't have concerns. I have full confidence in Commissioner Worley to lead the police department.
That's something that certainly we'd like to have seen. A national search, just one, to get as much insight as possible. That said, we will evaluate him for his ability to do the job.
The mayor's move to forego a national search has members of the NAACP shaking their heads, speaking out on the matter just days after Mayor Scott's choice.
The process to select a new leader for BPD must start with community engagement and partnership. The safety of our city depends on it.
Meanwhile, back inside City Hall, pushing the process.
Would I like to see a little more community engagement in the search process? Yes. However, I look forward to the council's role in oversight.
We are down to a year of this term, and that national search is a long process. We need to get someone permanent as soon as we can.
Well, the council's oversight committee will hold a hearing for acting Commissioner Worley August 15th. Now, if approved by the committee, Worley would then face a vote from the full 15-member council. Now, no dates yet for that vote, and there's no deadline for the council's consideration. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
The Canadian wildfire smoke is back, and that means poor air quality around the region. I'll let you know when to expect better air quality in my full forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, more residents sign on to a lawsuit against BGE over those external gas regulators. The people in Greektown now joining that fight. Fox 45 News hears from the victim in the Brooklyn mass shooting, how he describes that chaotic day and why he tells us his life has changed. And coming up after the break tonight, Project Baltimore questions Baltimore County's new school superintendent, how she plans to restore public trust.
After years of turnover, Baltimore County Public Schools has a new superintendent with a difficult job ahead of her.
Dr. Miriam Yarbrough is the 4th superintendent in 6 years. Now that she's officially started, Project Baltimore's Chris Papps asked how she plans to turn things around and restore the public's confidence.
Baltimore County Public Schools is a district in decline.
I remember when Baltimore County Public Schools, we were at the top of the state.
It's a harsh reality that Dr. Miriam Yarbrough acknowledged in May when she was named the new superintendent.
It is my intention to work together with you, the community, to get back to the top of the state and the nation.
But getting back to the top could be challenging. Graduation rates are lower now than they were 9 years ago. Student attendance is lower than it was 20 years ago. And last year, just 8% of 8th graders tested proficient in math. 8%.
Good morning, everyone.
Now that Dr. Yarbrough has officially started her new job, Project Baltimore asked her how she plans to reverse the decline and restore public trust in school leadership after years of turbulence and turnover. Yarbrough began her career as a teacher with Baltimore County Schools in the 1990s. She then left and became a principal in Montgomery County. 3 years ago, she returned to Baltimore County and shortly after was named the deputy superintendent to Dr. Darrell Williams.
In your opinion, what happened? What mistakes were made? And as superintendent, what have you learned from them that you can use moving forward?
I don't know that I could speak to you to say what mistakes were made over the last 10 years. We have declining performance when you analyze it for 10 to 12 years, and it wouldn't be fair for me to, make those kinds of statements because I have not been back for the last 10 to 12 years.
Dr. Yarbrough says she plans to focus on academic achievement, school safety, and recruiting highly effective teachers.
In order to get to that, we have to take care of the other three.
She said BCPS will soon roll out a new elementary school curriculum that focuses on literacy. And she plans to work with school leaders in real time to ensure instant feedback.
When we see an opportunity for growth or when we see a misstep that we're going back in to correct in the classroom that next week. We're not waiting for the next group of students. We're not waiting for next year, but we are really working in lockstep, schools, central offices, and families to make sure that our students are progressing.
Congratulations on your appointment, Dr. Yarbrough.
BCPS has struggled to keep superintendents. Dr. Yarbrough will be the 4th in the last 6 years. In 2017, Dr. Dallas Dance went to jail for lying on his financial disclosure forms. His replacement, interim superintendent Berlita White, was found to have violated ethics rules involving her finances. When Dr. Williams took over, he struggled to gain the public's confidence, facing criticism for his response to a ransomware attack on the school system, busing issues, and an uptick in violence. After 4 years, he announced he would not seek another contract. And now, as Dr. Yarbrough begins her tenure, some are voicing their uncertainty.
For me, it would be a problem because it would cause me to have doubts.
Days before the board gave Dr. Yarbrough a contract for $310,000 a year, news broke that she was mentioned in a wrongful termination lawsuit filed by the district's former chief human resources officer. In May, former school board member Lily Rowe said the board should not hire Dr. Yarbrough until more is known about the lawsuit.
I don't think I would want to just jump into a choice without knowing details.
The suit was filed in April by Sharia Anderson, who claims BCPS engaged in unlawful acts when her employment was terminated in December 2022. According to the lawsuit, Anderson reported to Dr. Williams and Dr. Yarbrough. The lawsuit does not specifically state what role, if any, Dr. Yarbrough had in Anderson's alleged wrongful termination. But despite the lawsuit and the calls to hold off, the school board hired Yarbrough anyway. So on her first day, we asked board chair Jane Lichter about it.
Do you have any fears that as this lawsuit moves forward, that it could inhibit Dr. Yarbrough's ability to do her job as superintendent?
No, and I can't speak to a pending litigation, but I don't have any fears about the
process, the results, the outcome, and affecting Dr. Yarbrough's further work in our system.
The case, Sharia Anderson versus Baltimore County Public Schools, is currently making its way through the court system. Fox 45 News will be following the lawsuit and tracking Dr. Yarbrough's progress as she rolls out her plan to improve the school system.
This is when I turn it over to you.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
It was on a social media poster. They literally had posters like around Brooklyn and the projects.
A survivor of the Brooklyn Day mass shooting speaking out the criticism he and his mom have for city leaders and how he's describing the chaotic incident.
What is the future of FISA? I'm Christine Frizzell on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are threatening to remove some of the surveillance powers top intelligence officials have come to rely upon.
We had a nice and dry day. It was hot, though, and a little hazy, but now we're starting to see a few spotty showers around the state as part of our next weather maker. Tomorrow, though, brings a better chance for rain across the Baltimore metro. I'll let you know the timing of the rain and when air quality improves coming up in my full forecast.
To what extent should officials from our top intelligence agencies be able to gather information about American citizens?
Right. FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, is supposed to only be used to gather information about non-U.S. citizens, but critics on Capitol Hill say it's being abused.
National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
For years, both Democrats and Republicans have been making the case something needs to change.
How many American communications are collected under Section 702? The government cannot and will not say.
204,000 times the FBI improperly searched the 702 database.
Section 702 of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, was enacted back in 2008 as a temporary tool to combat terrorism.
The bottom line is that Section 702 gives us the intelligence that's necessary
for us to stay one step ahead of our adversaries.
Top officials laying out some of our country's greatest threats: the Chinese government's efforts to spy and steal sensitive technologies, North Korea's nuclear program, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But critics in Congress say those national security threats are being used as a shield to violate privacy rights of Americans. New outrage following the release of this report, stating the Defense Intelligence Agency provides funding to another agency that purchases commercially available geolocation metadata aggregated from smartphones.
This is just an extremely important issue for the American people to understand how their data is being used. That is location data, that is biometric information, it's medical and mental health information.
FBI Director Chris Wray insisted the practice is no longer occurring, but privacy experts warn the information already collected is still searchable.
This includes searches for Black Lives Matter protesters, individuals associated with January 6th. So wherever you are on the political spectrum, the extent to which this authority has morphed into a domestic surveillance tool should deeply trouble you.
Section 702 of FISA is set to expire at the end of this year, so the debate will carry on. Now, critics worry despite these threats, lawmakers will pass it once again, but hope significant reforms are made to prevent it from being abused. On Capitol Hill, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Well, Fox 45 News is following the money, holding city leaders accountable for your tax dollars. Why a grant given to the mayor's girlfriend's organization is raising some red flags.
The trial of the Squeegee kid charged with the murder of a motorist last summer is underway. What we know about the jury seated.
We are following three big stories at 10:30.
The trial for the Squeegee kid charged with murder has started. Why the state called for a delay and why the judge rejected that request.
Fox 45 News is following your tax dollars, pressing city leaders for answers on how the money is being spent. The questions about grant money given to an organization run by the mayor's girlfriend.
Fox 45 News is hearing from a survivor of the mass shooting in South Baltimore earlier this month.
And that 18-year-old describing a chaotic scene as gunfire erupted at the Brooklyn Day block party.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the story you're seeing first on Fox.
Up
not been walking with a cane today.
And I can't walk too fast. I walk too fast, it hurts.
A little over 2 weeks after being shot in South Baltimore.
It all happened so fast.
Paswayne Theo Douglas says he was one of the 28 people shot and injured in the July 2nd mass shooting in Brooklyn homes. 2 others were killed in that spray of bullets.
As soon as I heard that one and I seen the flame off the gun, I ran.
This 18-year-old describes being shot 3 times, telling Fox 45 News he needed a 5-hour surgery.
But it was just like showing a party.
Spent 4 nights in the hospital and ultimately lost a testicle.
I'm still running, although I can't feel my leg. And I'm screaming, hit, hit, I'm hit. Nobody paying attention.
The teen sharing this short video of this year's block party.
Brooklyn Day, it happens literally every year. Literally every year. It was on social media, poster. They literally had posters like around Brooklyn and the projects.
By his estimate, the crowd growing to more than 1,000 people that Saturday night. At one point, saying the crowd scattered at the sound of fireworks, thinking they were gunshots instead.
It was people everywhere.
Today, the teen's mom.
He said, Mom, I got shot. I'm at Arbor Hospital. Don't freak out. I'm okay.
Slamming the response from police leadership in the last 2 weeks.
And Brandon Scott defending him? No, come on, no. Nuh-uh. They need to do a better job.
Beside herself that she woke up to that phone call that Theo had been shot.
When I was growing up, we use our fists. We don't use gun. They need to cut out these guns.
Now her oldest son among the more than 350 people who've survived shootings in Baltimore just this year.
They need to put the guns down and start using their hands, if anything. A lot of people can't do nothing without a gun.
Today, Douglas appearing to question if the city's culture of violence can be quelled.
Because too much people already have guns, and it's not hard to get a gun. So like, it's like hard to stop that. So I don't really know. Just got to be careful and not be at the wrong place, wrong time.
And that July 2nd mass shooting already has this 18-year-old making plans to pack up and move west, leaving Baltimore behind.
Doctor's appointments and all that stuff, and then, yeah, I'll be able to get up out of here.
In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
And here's what we know about the mass shooting investigation. More than 2 weeks after the incident, police still have not arrested anybody in connection with the actual shooting. A 17-year-old is now facing 2 riot charges in connection to the incident. Those charges were added Friday. He already faced various gun charges. Authorities say the teen was seen at the party with a gun. There's a $28,000 reward for information leading to the arrest in the case. Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley saying there could be 3 suspects. Police also admitting they made mistakes in their response to the block party, telling City Council last week they missed key signs. And today, City Council proposed a hearing on the permitting process. The council says changes need to be made as the Brooklyn Day block party was not permitted. Fox 45 News has done extensive reporting on the mass shooting and the response from various city agencies. You can find all of our reports on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Fox 45 News demands answers about a city grant given to the organization run by Mayor Brandon Scott's girlfriend. While the mayor's office denies any ethical wrongdoing, this isn't the first time someone close to high-ranking officials in City Hall has received a grant like this. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explains.
Hannah Pugh is the operations director for Be More Empowered. And not only did the organization get a $25,000 grant from the city in December, it also received a grant from the Downtown Partnership just last week. And this isn't the first time that someone close to a leader inside City Hall got some funding. Thursday,
this is such an amazing moment in time.
Be More Empowered awarded up to $50,000 in grants from the Downtown Partnership to open a new storefront. It's part of the Boost program.
So they're actually our only nonprofit organization in this round.
Usually reserved for retail businesses, the program helps place businesses in the downtown corridor.
Be More Empowered will open a bazaar for the women in their programs and also relocate their organization's main offices to the 2nd floor.
Director of Operations for Be More Empowered, Hannah Pugh, Mayor Brandon Scott's girlfriend and mother of his unborn child.
The fabulous, phenomenal, brilliant, and beautiful women of Be More Empowered who are empowering, yeah, let's clap, there we go, Shalonda. Who are empowering women to live their best, empowered, and free lives each and every day.
Good morning. The December 14th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order.
Be More Empowered getting the boost funding isn't the first time the organization received some assistance. December 14th, the city's spending board approving $25,000 for Be More Empowered to give to Ballet After Dark for yoga and dance therapy. Mayor Brandon Scott not abstaining from that vote.
The ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted.
The mayor's office telling Fox 45 News Be More Empowered applied for the grant in June of 2022 before the mayor and Pew met. But despite multiple attempts, the mayor's office not telling Fox 45 News why the mayor didn't sit out the Board of Estimates vote in December. These photos posted on social media by Pew show her older son with Mayor Scott sitting in the mayor's office, getting a tour of City Hall, posted in September 2022 before the BOE vote. It's the latest example of leaders' partners getting funding from the city. In June 2022, Fox 45 News investigating a federal grant worth nearly $1 million going to the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, then led by Shantae Jackson. One of the two groups getting the money, Project Numa, run by Jackson's former boyfriend, Damian Cooper. Our investigation included reviewing internal Monzi communication, showing Jackson was close to the grant writing process, praising employees for the application that resulted in her former partner's group getting the federal funds. After our questioning, the grant now administered by the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, despite questions continuing to linger about when the mayor and his girlfriend started dating,
My first child, baby Charm, will be joining us this winter. Thank you.
if his position resulted in her organization getting funding, his office maintains the mayor's ethical standards remain high.
According to Be More Empowered, Pew was hired to work for them in December of 2022. The same month, the city's spending board approved their grant. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, the city sends millions of dollars to various nonprofits every year, and Fox 45 News reviewed the 10 getting the most money. Some are less than transparent. In January, one city nonprofit, Strong City Baltimore, faced a lawsuit accusing it of using grant funds that were supposed to go to community projects to pay for a new headquarters. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams calling it an example of what can happen to taxpayer dollars without oversight.
It's possible this is happening at other nonprofits, and we just don't know about that. With so much more money coming into the city from the federal government to address a lot of issues, including public safety, more money is going to be going to nonprofits. And this problem needs to be solved sooner rather than later.
Of Baltimore City was given more than $14 million in 2021. George Soros's nonprofit Open Society Institute of Baltimore got $6 million. It is not clear how either of those groups used that money. Councilman Yitzi Schleifer recently introduced a bill that would require nonprofits to show the public exactly how they're using city dollars. The bill has been assigned to a committee. It's not clear when it will have a hearing.
A jury has been seated in the trial of the Squeegee kid charged with killing a motorist at the Inner Harbor last summer. The judge asked if any members of the jury had, quote, strong feelings about the practice of squeegee workers. 72 of 110 jurors said that would apply to them. Still, after 6 hours, both sides agreed on a jury.
Everybody knows that this case got a lot of attention, and that makes every aspect of the proceedings more difficult. Baltimore City, good news is, has a lot of familiarity with complex, high-profile cases, and so I'm confident that the judge will administer a responsible process of getting a thoughtful jury that is able to look at the facts and the law and do justice.
Well, this follows a judge denying the state's request for a delay. Prosecutors say they have DNA evidence linking the suspect to a spray bottle at the scene that had not been processed. The state claims there was a communication between the city state's attorney's office and those in charge of testing for DNA evidence. The judge decided that's not a good enough reason to push the case back any further. It had already been delayed once last fall.
Another group of city residents joining the hundreds already signed onto the lawsuit against BGE over its external gas regulator project. The ongoing controversy started nearly a month ago when a group of 3 residents protesting the project was arrested in Federal Hill. Since then, more than